Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacalyn. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacalyn.com to book an appointment today.
Good afternoon and welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, live on Business Talk Radio. Hello to our friends at Facebook and at YouTube. This is Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and with me today, as always, is my co-host, Mr. Al Cini. Hi, Al.
It's such a pleasure joining you today, especially knowing who we're going to be interviewing, because it's Dean Karrel. What a great guest.
He is phenomenal. This man is accomplished at everything that he does. So I just can't wait to have him out here. We're going to have him out in about 10 or 12 minutes.
Great.
And we're going to talk a lot about sales.
We are. I mean, that's his sweet spot. Although he's written a book on mastering the basics for anybody in business. He does have kind of a specialty in managing the sales function and dealing with salespeople, coaching salespeople to become better. And I know you've had some experience selling, and I've had some experience selling. And a big part of the, I think everybody really can sell, but most people are kind of afraid of the whole idea because they're afraid of what could go wrong. And, we're here to tell them we're living proof that something could go wrong and you can overcome it. So, Dr. Jacalyn, why don't you share your story, which I think is great, and then I'll throw mine in.
Oh, if only the clients could talk. There's some of the things that have happened through the years. But one story that really stands out for me was actually 5 years ago, because I looked it up. I was in New York for a meeting, and the meeting was at the Empire State Building, and I took the train from Philadelphia. I got there early. So I thought the same thing that probably most people think. Why not use this time wisely and buy a wig? So right behind Penn Station, there's a store that sells wigs, and you go upstairs and they've got so many choices. And before I digress, I've always wanted to have black hair, so I'm trying on the black wigs. And anyway, I end up picking up this blonde wig, and I am just ecstatic because now there's like a whole new me. So I go over to the Empire State Building, and I'm waiting for someone who is a partner of the company I work with, and we were going to do this joint presentation at this very well-known cosmetics company in New York. So we're going up in the elevator, and she says, something really looks different about you. Do you have extensions? And I said, no, actually, I don't have extensions, which was true, right? Mm-hmm. So go into the meeting, and there are all these people around this big boardroom table, and I stand up and I'm doing my dog and pony show, blah, 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 blah. And I look over, and the one executive kind of has this look, I don't want to say of horror, but just something. And I thought, I guess she doesn't feel well. I don't know what's happening. But anyway, blah, 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 taking questions. So afterwards, I go into the restroom, and this woman who was with me, she said, I just want to let you know a couple of things. First of all, apparently you're wearing a wig. And when you were speaking, it slid back on your head. So you had a dome. And she said, not only that, she said, apparently your eye, the capillaries in your eye exploded, and you have a devil eye. So it's red. So I look in the mirror, and like the wig was here and it moved all the way back. And by the way, I do have a picture.
You brought a picture up of it.
So you can see how far back it is. It's supposed to be further. Anyway, to make matters even more interesting, after the meeting, I go to TGI Fridays, and I'm sitting there, and this really handsome guy comes up, and he's like, is this stool taken? I'm like, no, I'm waiting for you all day. Just kidding. So he and I are on the same train together. So now it's later in the evening because I had some other meetings. Anyway, we're on the train, and they have Kendall Jackson Chardonnay, which is my favorite. So he goes and gets a Chardonnay, and he's in his pinstripes, and I'm in my pinstripes, and we're just cannot stop laughing, having a great time. And he looks at me and he said, you're really cool. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, anybody that could rock that wig the way you are, he said, it's like in a big dome on top of your head.
It's kind of like the Benjamin Franklin powder wig look in 1776. That's pretty horrifying.
I told him, the more you drink, the better I'm going to look. But we actually did end up going out after that one time.
Oh, too funny. Well, my horror story. And by the way, what you should do now that you know what day it was is go back and look at your horoscope for that day, and see if the advice it gave you was stay home, don't go to New York,
or maybe don't buy a wig to go to an appointment.
Check and see, because that's a good way to check and see what whether horoscopes are accurate. I used to work for a computer company, and we had a customer who was just never going to be happy with this machine that we sold him. And it just didn't work right. It was too slow. I mean, there were a million reasons why he wouldn't be happy with it. It had a lot of money, and he was a very important customer. And we spent a ton of money trying to fix this problem. And finally, in desperation, we got one of the operating system developers. And, these are people that normally never leave headquarters.
Right.
And we arranged to have him flown to the client site to take a look at the machine and look at the software and try to figure out what the problem was. So he came, and I went to the airport to pick him up, and he was wearing what a programmer normally wears: powder blue leisure suit, bright yellow shirt, and a red necktie.
Oh, I love that.
Obviously, it's the first time he'd ever been out. He was also the last guy off the plane, which is never a good sign, and needed help getting off the plane. He was so terrified, never flown before. So.
Oh my gosh.
So we brought him to the client site, and he sat down in front of the computer while we were doing chalk talk, dog and pony stuff with the client. And then finally it came time to introduce him to the client. And so there were 3 or 4 of us, all in nice suits, and we brought the client, and the client was dressed to the nines because he was actually he was a haberdasher. So he sold men's clothes. He was in men's fashion, and he was just absolutely picture perfect. We brought him up to our expert, and we introduced the expert to him, and the expert stared at him for about a second or two and then threw up on him. And we stood back. I mean, I remember that moment was suspended in time, and I remember it vividly because they teach you all kinds of things in sales training, and dealing with that is not one of them. So we stepped back, like, what do we do now? And then he threw up on him again, just to make it all that much worse. And then everybody pulled out a hanky and went and got paper towels. And the next week, the computer was boxed up and on a loading dock and getting sent back. That was pretty much the end of that deal. But the point of all this is that a lot of people, I think, are terrified of that moment, and so they never even try selling. They're terrified of the things that could go wrong. And your story and my story, and a story that I'm sure Dean is going to share with us, kind of demonstrate that you don't have anything really to worry about. Don't be afraid. These things happen, and you can get past any of them. So I got to see you in that wig. I don't know if you still have it.
No, I actually don't have it. A friend of mine asked to borrow it. He was going to play in a tennis tournament, and so he wore the wig. And he said, people taking pictures of it. And then he gave me the wig back, and I said, you know what? It's human hair. I'll try to wash it, but it just didn't turn out too well.
Well, that's a shame.
One other thing I think that happens a lot in sales, people don't want to talk about, but it's pretty obvious, is you get nervous and you start perspiring or just full on sweating. You see people with huge stains under their arms because they get so nervous.
Flop sweats.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
It happens. But, I think Dean will weigh in on this, but I think the more you sell, the less intimidated you get by things that happen. And
I think you do get more comfortable with it, but a big part of it, I think, is going through the mental. It's not even discipline. I think everybody imagines how everything could possibly go wrong, and then when they actually get into it, they pretty much have fulfilled their own prophecy. They're going to make it go wrong, and I think that's kind of like the first step in the process. But after the break, I guess what we'll do is welcome Dean on, and he can tell us 1 or 2 of his stories too.
Absolutely. And one thing I'll share with you, I think I might have told you, Al, but I don't think I've told our listeners. A couple of years ago, maybe 3, I had a very important appointment. I was doing a presentation, and it was about a $5 million deal. And all the key players were in the room. And I had a couple of people from my organization with me, my boss. So I'm up there ready to present. And I noticed 2 of these executives whom I haven't met before, they're both on their phones. So I just stood there And everyone kept looking at me, and I refused to start the presentation until they put the phones down.
Uh-huh.
And so finally, the one guy looks up at me and he said, "Are you going to start?" And I said, "I am going to start when I have your complete attention, because I know you don't want to miss one word of what I'm going to share with you about this incredible solution to the issue that you have." And I think I earned their respect. So
Did that work? I mean, did you end up closing that one?
no, we didn't get the deal.
Oh, well.
Our prices were sky high, they said so.
Well, that happens too. But it's not just because you wore that crazy wig or because you waited until they got off their phones.
Exactly.
I mean, sometimes the deals just don't happen. And
that's for sure.
Dealing with rejection is another part of this. I'm sure Dean's got advice on that too. So.
Yes. So I think we should take a quick break, and then we'll be back and bring Dean out. How's that sound?
Can't wait.
All right. We're going to hear from Margie Cedrone, a good friend of mine. She's an artisan jeweler, and she made this custom piece for me actually today.
Very nice.
She didn't make it today, but I'm wearing it today. So let's hear from Margie.
Good.
Located at 121 Haddon Avenue in Westmont, New Jersey, is Margie Cedrone, artisan jeweler. Margie's been in business for more than 30 years. She works with her clients to create custom pieces of jewelry to reflect their personality and help them make their own bold statement. Starting in the renowned Jewelers Row in Center City, Philadelphia in 1988, Margie works directly with her clients to develop one-of-a-kind pieces such as necklaces, engagement rings, wedding bands, unique watches and tennis bracelets, as well as a myriad of rings and earrings for everyone in your family. She also has worked directly with Dr. Jacalyn over the years, creating unique pieces of jewelry to reflect her personality. She does pearl stringing and repairs on site at 121 Haddon Avenue. Call or text Margie at 215-384-7155. Margie Cedrone Jewelry is open by appointment only. Make your own bold statement.
Have you just lost your job or have been laid off and you are looking to transition to a new job or career? Maybe you have even tried submitting tons of applications and yet you keep getting turned down for jobs you qualify for. Don't wait until you become overwhelmed with rejections when you can easily transition or get your dream job. Let MJW Careers guide you to the right career path and a better, brighter future. At MJW Careers, we know what hiring managers are looking for, and our goal is to land you the job you deserve. What makes MJW Careers a wonderful provider over other services is our pragmatic and scientific approach to resume writing. There are rules, there are visual cues, there are content best practices. We understand those and work within the boundaries to ensure our clients' messaging appeals to the decision makers. Our career consultants will help you transition into new roles quickly and effectively. With our experience in virtually every industry, we will provide direction in the frustrating job market by helping you write a customized, professional resume and prepare you for your interview as well. Join the great number of people we have helped scale up to greater things in their careers. Let us help you on your career journey. Come visit us, www.jobstickers.com, to learn more and grab a free resume review or ebook.
Hey everybody, my name is Ashley Owens. I am your personal networking concierge, and I host a show on RVN TV called Connect to Success, where I interview power networkers in the greater Philadelphia and South Jersey area. So join me every week, 12:30 on Thursdays during your lunch break, and now on Fridays at 9 and 9:30 p.m. We'll see you next week.
radio show on the planet even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Welcome back. How excited are we to have Dean Karrel with us? Hi, Dean.
Dr. Jacalyn, Al, it's great to see you both again, and thank you so much for inviting me back.
Well, you've got so much to offer, and we can start with your horror story. I know we talked about that a little bit before the break, and I know you've probably experienced a couple of bad days in sales.
Well, Dr. Jacalyn, I never knew that was you on the train that I was sitting next to. All these years, I never knew it was you. No.
Our secret is out.
Well, it's interesting. If you've been in sales or any like the period of time, you have stories and horror stories and war stories, and I have more than a few. And one of my favorites that I love to talk about is early in my career when I first started. And I'm dating myself here, but I used to sell software for IBM to companies that sold IBM computers. And IBM at that time was known for their sales organizations all wearing white shirts, just like yours, Al. Everybody was the white shirt sales organization. And when you were presenting products to them or services to their organization, you dressed the part. So if I was with another company, I would get to see them, I would wear a white shirt. So I was making this presentation for software out at UCLA, and they had one of the big auditoriums that they have with the theater seating, and it probably held 400 to 500 people in there. And I was flying from New York, and it was, again, a different era where I had to bring my equipment with me along with my luggage. The equipment was very valuable, so that went on the plane with me, and my luggage, got stowed, which, of course, where this is going, my luggage got lost. And again, different era where we all wore suits to presentations. And again, IBM, I had my white shirt, I had my suit, and I get to the hotel and it's late at night. My bags still have not arrived, and I have a dirty white shirt. And I say to the front desk, "Is there any way I can get my shirt cleaned?" And they say, "Don't worry, Mr. Karrel, we'll take care of you. We'll have your shirt back to you by 8 o'clock in the morning." And so I go to sleep. I have a T-shirt, and I have my suit, and I go downstairs at 7:30, and I go to the front desk, and they look at me like I'm nobody, meaning, who are you? They have no idea who I am, meaning, what shirt? What shirt?
Yeah, right.
And my presentation was at 9 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And there's nothing open yet. I have no shirt. And so they said, "Well, we have a shirt for you. I have to wear something. I have to wear a tie." It was a Marriott hotel, and I get a shirt that's a red shirt that says Walt on it. And at that time, I was a stick. I had a 14.5 neck. I was like, so I had a shirt that was for this muscular guy. So I'm a nervous wreck. You talk about being a nervous wreck for a sales call. I'm going to be speaking in front of 500 people in a suit. Now, when you're 27 and you're not well built, the suits don't fit that well anyway, right? I walk into this auditorium, and you could hear the gasp of, here's this kid with a tie on and a red shirt that says Walt. And all of a sudden, the air just got sucked out of the room. And my hands are like this. So I said, how am I going to get out? So you talk about, being resilient and overcoming an obstacle in sales. I just took a deep breath, and I just told the story. And I flew in, I went to the hotel, and I embellished, and I had some fun with the story. Well, I had them hysterically laughing. And I had something that they needed, some software for this computer, that the IBM PC Junior, they called it. It was a short-lived product for the educational community. And I got a standing ovation.
Oh, I love
when
it.
I left, I collapsed.
You took adversity and you made it into success.
Yeah.
Yes, but it was, I think I aged a few years that day. When they said, "Mr. Karrel, we don't have your shirt."
Oh my gosh, and they gave you a red shirt with a name on it, no less.
Walt.
Walt, that's great. Hey, by the way, I want to give out the call-in number for anybody who wants to call in and ask Dean questions. The number is 631-730-5468. And that was a great story, Dean. What other stories do you have for us?
Well, my first sales call with my very first sales call with my manager. Again, different era. but I think I was born in khaki pants and a blue shirt and a blazer. I mean, that's been my uniform. And the company I worked for, that was pretty much basically our uniform. And my very first sales call, my sales manager, we met first for breakfast, and he spilled coffee on me, and right in below my belt. So it looked like I had an accident. And I'm at a university, and we're making presentations to college professors, and I've got this big wet mark. And this is my very first call with my manager. Now, I had made some presentations on my own, but here I am. It's like, and there was no way to, what do you do? And I used to have my little, we had a little handbag, a little luggage bag of our sample materials, and I had that in front of me. But you talk about,
it's funny, you just sort of deal with it.
I wish I had the wig.
That would have helped.
Would have helped. I needed some of that alcohol from that guy from the plane.
So Dean, because so many people are terrified of the whole idea of getting up in front of anybody, let alone 500 people.
Right.
When you coach people through the process of getting ready for something like that, when you help people become more comfortable with themselves, what kind of advice do you give them?
I always tell a story when people will say to me often, Dean, you seem so comfortable speaking, and you love to talk, and you love being in public. I mean, and they ask the line, do you ever get nervous? And I say, you're darn right I do. I still get nervous. And you still get a little anxiety, but it comes back to being prepared and planning and preparation. So what I talk to people about is, how do you get through that first 30 seconds? You don't worry about a whole presentation, and you have your notes for the whole process. But how do you work your way through those first 30 seconds and have your keynotes and key tips and techniques and presentation in place for that start off of the meeting? And it takes time, but you always have a little anxiety. You hear sometimes these actors or even the MCs and radio people and TV people on TV, they still get a little anxious before they go on stage. And that's good. It means it shows that you care.
Sure.
But if you take your time and you practice and take a deep breath, you'll work your way through it. It's one of the hardest things to do is to gain confidence in your abilities. And that's what I teach people, is how to believe in your abilities and just be yourself. And there are going to be times when things just don't work right. You move on and you improve for the next time.
Well, I took a class once on public speaking years ago. Mm-hmm. And we were using an overhead projector, and we had prepared slides, transparencies. And about maybe 3 or 4 slides in, the instructor, I was doing this on a practice basis with the rest of the class, the instructor pulled the plug out of the wall and turned the projector off.
Yeah.
And I said, so what do I do? And he said, well, listen, bulbs burn out.
Yeah.
If you don't have a story to tell,
right,
then there's no point using slides to try to tell the story you don't have.
Right.
You need to have a story to tell people, and you should be able to tell that story no matter what happens in the room that you happen to be telling the story in. And I still remember that was it was a little jarring, but I learned a lot from that. And then you just sort of get used to it. I mean, if you know what you're talking about and you have a good story to tell and any kind of a sense of humor at all, then you could kind of make a joke of the fact that it looks like you wet yourself, I guess. I don't know, but did you call that out too, by the way, and explain to people that this stain, by the way,
there was a point where I said, there was some coffee here, and you just have to say it. Coffee was spilled, and I can't go home, and I'm here to talk about the product or service that I was presenting that day. But I actually made fun of it, and I said, I may look like I'm excited to see you, but I had an accident, at the cafeteria, and so you get a chuckle, you get a laugh. Not everybody is a comedian, though. I mean, I'm pretty quick on my feet, and I can. But a lot of people, they say, Dean, I don't tell jokes like you, and sometimes it's just being honest. I had an accident. Somebody spilled coffee on me, and I apologize if I look this way. And my style is to make a joke out of it. Other people, you would be more serious about it. And the tip there is just be yourself. And it's okay to be nervous, and it's okay to make a mistake, and you take a deep breath. Nobody's perfect. And again, that takes some time to admit that also. You can't change your personality. Not everybody's going to be like Dr. Jacalyn, not everybody's going to be like you, Al, and not everybody's going to be like me. So we're all our own specific personality. So you focus on enhancing those skills.
So that then what you're telling me, and this is a great segue into what we were talking about for the program. You mentioned you're doing a lot of coaching these days for people who, due to COVID, are in a kind of a forced career transition. And what you're telling me, or what I'm drawing from all this, is it really is possible for anybody to sell if they can find an authentic comfort zone to sell from. I guess how do you do that with people?
We actually touched on this the last time. We all have these preconceived notions of what sales is all about. And we think it's a certain way, or you have to act a certain way. And sometimes people will say to me, Dean, do I have to have the personality of a salesperson? And I always say, well, what does that mean? What is the personality of a salesperson? But we have this perception that it's, loud or abrasive or in your face. And what I try to, again, go back and teach people to do is just be yourself and try to approach sales as a conversation and try to approach sales as being inquisitive. An investigative reporter. You're asking questions, you're trying to learn more about them and solve the problem or fill a need that they have. And that's, to me, is what sales is all about.
No. So
I agree with you. I also found as I progressed through my career, I started my career selling phone systems. So, know all the features and the benefits. And then as I moved on in my career, I was selling something that wasn't tangible. And so I really had to know more about the clients.
Right.
So that I asked the right questions, did all of my research, and that gave me a sense of confidence because I was really focused on them, and I felt confident because I was focused on them. What are your thoughts on that, Dean?
Well, that's what sales is. That's what it's supposed to be. Your focus is on the customer and focus is on the client. And unfortunately, in this day and age, we're seeing it all the time. And I feel so badly for entry-level salespeople if they're not getting the right training. They'll say hello, and then they try to sell you something, and that's I cringe because that's the perfect formula for a no. We get a lot of no's in sales, but if you go from hello, Al, Jacalyn, let me tell you about the product I'd like to sell you. Well, that doesn't work. And it goes to, I think the most important part of sales is what's called the sales discovery call. I've met you, Dr. Jacalyn, I've met you, Al, and then we do discovery. I'm trying to learn more about you. What are your pain points? What are you trying to solve? What's something you're trying to do better in your business or whatever that might be? And that's, again, being like a investigative reporter. You're listening and you're learning and you don't sell. That's the hardest thing for me to get into people's head is that process of saying, don't sell right now, just learn.
Well, the active process is really buying. I mean, the goal is really to facilitate the decision to buy something, not necessarily to,
Right.
I mean, especially at levels where most people operate, it's not about selling something people don't need. They're not going to buy what we sell unless they have a need.
Right.
So the challenge really is to do enough investigating to find where that need is. And then honestly position what you've got to offer as a solution for that need. Don't try to lie and don't try to fake your way through it. And you've got quite a presence, Dean, on LinkedIn, and I know you've got a lot of courseware up there.
Right.
And we didn't get much of a chance to talk about getting to know Dean Karrel on LinkedIn and what the courseware is. Maybe you can give us a quick summary of what it is you teach people.
I just did his course, Just Ask, which I thought was terrific. And I put on LinkedIn, I love the reference to the phone booths and the Blackberries.
Great.
Well, I did notice you did take that course, Dr. Jacalyn. It's LinkedIn has a division called LinkedIn Learning. And it's a company, they had acquired a company called lynda.com a number of years ago. And it's a perfect link in with the LinkedIn whole family and portfolio of businesses. So LinkedIn Learning has about 15,000 courses, everything from technology to creative and all the business subjects you can imagine. And in this day and age, it's learning online has become such an important thing and being able to do it in a easy to use way. And LinkedIn Learning has really developed a perfect formula for this. And then the courses that I have are in sales, basics of sales. So sales discovery, closing sales, handling objections. And each of these courses is approximately 45 to 60 minutes. And they're broken up into 15 little mini segments of about 3 minutes each. And I don't teach advanced theory or advanced methodologies. I teach the basics of sales, similar to my book, Mastering the Basics. And that course you took, Dr. Jacalyn, was called Just Ask. And it's an audio course where people from around the world asked me questions about sales. And I absolutely loved doing it. And one of the great things about LinkedIn and LinkedIn Learning is the reach is unbelievable. There's so many members on LinkedIn, and I'm speaking with salespeople from around the world, and it's been such a treat to be able to do that.
I did think that was really impressive, the fact that there were people calling in from all over the world, and you had great answers for every question. You have a great voice, by the way, too, and so does Al Cini. You guys both have that going for you. I love that.
We're going to be singing Christmas carols.
That's what we're going to be doing. So, Gal, if this gig doesn't work, you and I are going on the road.
I love that. We have to take another break and hear from some of our friends who are sponsors. We're going to hear from RVN TV. Al and I both have shows at RVN TV, and they are located in Cherry Hill. And hi to everybody out there from RVN TV. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
RVN TV is a platform for people of any industry to share their story. Over 285,000 viewers are tuning in to RVN TV shows monthly. We guarantee a great experience that you'll be sharing with everyone you know while increasing your personal and company's brand awareness. But what is your brand? According to Forbes, it's a combination of your logo, your product, your design and feel, and your personality. Did you know that aside from being a guest, we offer even more opportunity to boost your brand? Adding your company logo and website on screen during your interview will allow viewers to recognize your brand instantly. Incorporating images and video clips is another great way to showcase your product during your live segment. Let viewers see how good you really are. And most importantly, there's you and your interview. For less than the cost of a newspaper, direct mail, or a magazine ad, you can leave our studio and within 48 hours have a permanent digital copy of your live segment to link to your social media, embed into your company website, or use in email marketing. Investing in your brand is so very important, and we can't wait to have you as a guest.
Have you ever tried to build people into a team? Maybe you've tried bowling, or ziplining, or paintball, or pizza making. These events can be fun, and they can make everybody happy for a while. But in the long run, do they really turn people into a team? Now, imagine the members of your team scattered all over the world, working from trains and airplanes, from remote offices, client locations, or working from home. How do you build a winning team when your playing field might be the entire world? With BCAT, we've created the answer. Working completely online, no matter where your people are, we turn them into an engaged and motivated team in 3 simple steps. First, we use the BCAT survey, which they can take online, anywhere, anytime, to reveal the North Star that represents their shared pride in the work they do. Next, we work with your team's leaders and stakeholders to convert that North Star into a role target, an ideal virtual person who represents your team's best self, living its best day at work. With our internet tools, we hang your North Star high in the sky, where everyone on your team can see it, no matter where in the world they might be. Then we guide and help everyone on your team in creating personal plans to align themselves with your team's North Star. We help each of them develop the positive habits that, day by day, every day, steer them closer to your North Star, aligning themselves with your team's signature dreams and ideals. And over the long haul, we offer programs and coaching techniques that help them stick to their plans. Remote team building isn't hard, it doesn't take long, and it's just as much fun as pizzas and paintball. You build winning teams around a purpose, not a place. BCAT is the answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned into.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacalyn. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacalyn.com to book an appointment today.
Welcome back. Here we are in Wrapping with Dr. Jacalyn, Jacalyn and Al Cini, and our special guest. Welcome back, Dean Karrel.
It's such
Thank
a pleasure.
you.
It's so great. Dean, we were talking, Dr. Jacalyn and I talk about you behind your back all the time, and it's always something great. And one of the things we talked about once is how you could spend a fortune going to Wharton or Harvard Business School, or you can buy Mastering the Basics, which in my mind has got as much wisdom in it. It's much more accessible, a lot less expensive. And maybe you could talk about your book a little bit. It's such a great book.
It's a great read.
Well, thank you both. I mean, it was such fun to do, and Mastering the Basics are just the tips and techniques I've learned throughout the course of my career, and I think it goes back to the point of, we all get uptight and nervous about trying to think about advanced methodologies that we need to learn in sales, or have advanced strategies, or have advanced degrees, and we get intimidated by those with fancy titles at companies, whether they're senior vice presidents of this or senior marketing officers of that. And I learned early on that, again, talking about just being yourself, but just following the basic lessons of, working hard and planning and preparation, and learning the tips and techniques that could help me differentiate myself from everybody else. My joke that I talk about in presentations is that most of us are B students. When we were in school, we were all B students. And for me, I was a B student. I got to be a B student because of extra credit. And so how do I differentiate myself between everybody else? Well, it's, again, working hard, showing up on time, having a good work ethic, saying thank you, follow up. It's interesting. One of the biggest things that buyers will say to salespeople, or when they say what are the things that bother them most about salespeople is one is they don't listen, and we don't listen well enough, and we don't follow up. Now, so in my book, these are all the tips and techniques that I talk about, and each one is we talked about before. They're all about a page long, and what I'll do in classes, and maybe we could do this, Al, if you wanted to pick out a page and I'll go to it, I'll have to put my glasses on, but we could talk about the subject right from the book if you wanted.
Yeah, sure, but I'm gonna guess a page. I don't have a copy of your book with me, but 86.
86. Well, 86.
Go to page 86.
86 in the restaurant business is not good,
I know.
By the way, I want to give the phone number again for people to call in. If Business Talk Radio, please call in at 631-730-5468. And also, we have received a couple of comments from Facebook, people on Facebook, but we don't see them here for some reason. But great show, and another great show were the comments. So if you are on Facebook, please feel free to put some comments up for us to see. And back to you on page 86.
Great.
So it's interesting. This actually ties in, Dr. Jacalyn, with the question you had, that you heard from my course on Just Ask about technology. This is about customer relationship management software and the use of that, and which ties in a lot with technology, in that every 2-3 years, technology changes. And when I first got into business, we didn't have cell phones and we didn't have computers, and I had notepads, and so customer relationship management software is where we track all of our data and track all of our numbers and forecasts, and so that everybody can see it within an organization. You go back when I first got into sales, salespeople, we used to keep all of our information in folders and we never shared it. We never let anybody see it was ours and we held it tight, which is the worst thing that can happen. So the use of customer relationship management software shares all of that data within an organization, which goes back to a topic we talked about last time, which is so important, collaboration. The customer relationship management software enables collaboration within an organization. So again, that's what I talk about, for a page and a half. A lot of people fight it. They say, I don't want to put my information there. It takes too much time. Well, that's the job of a good leadership team, is to make it simple for people to enter their data. Don't make it a task and don't make it an assignment. Just let people do it and get it in there, and there it's there for everybody to share it and use it. And that's one of the messages that I have in that section is we all need to collaborate and share information if we're going to be successful in this business environment.
Well,
that's a great message.
It really is a great message. And when you talk about sales in particular, you can have a team of very good individual salespeople. But until they're actually collaborating with each other and helping each other out, they're really not a team.
Right.
A CRM doesn't make that happen. It's leadership that makes that happen. A CRM makes it possible.
Bingo.
Yeah.
I mean, bingo doesn't. CRM doesn't sell anything; it just stores the information. And you nailed it. That's a great point, Al. Absolutely.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention about CRM, and I found this. We had Salesforce.com in my last corporate job, and I actually loved it. I thought it was really valuable. But some of the people who have been around for a long time, they didn't want to use it. And the reason they didn't want to use it was because they felt like they could become obsolete if they put their information into the CRM, because then they could be fired at any time, because now leadership has knowledge of what it is you're doing. And so my comment always was, first of all, be a team player. And second of all, they're paying you, and that is their information.
That's their information.
And third of all, if you are worried about them checking up on you, maybe it's because you're not doing your job, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, but one thing I want to talk about that's not in your book, but I think is really important. We talk about personality, and Dean, you've got a great personality. Al, so do you. And I think personality really does make a difference in a salesperson. And you have this incredible ability to do an Alec Baldwin. And I would love if you would do that for us.
Well, what's funny, when I was younger, people would actually say, Dean, you have a little bit of a look of a Baldwin. And I've gotten older, and I don't know what I look like now. Maybe I look like you, Al. I don't know if I have to work on your impersonation, but I would always be closing. The leads aren't weak, you're weak. And so I would do things like that. Again, that's the personality of the joke. But not everybody needs to be a comedian or do that type of style of personality. That's just my approach. That's me. And again, the message there is just be yourself. So,
but you want to be memorable, right? In a good way.
I want to be memorable in a good way, and not with the stain on my pants.
Not with the stain on your pants.
So that's the, you want to be, and it comes down to how hard is it to be nice, to show up and be happy and show enthusiasm. I spoke to this group yesterday, and the example I gave is when people do Zoom interviews and they'll go, hello, and you get a stone face. And I said, what you want is, when you're being in an interview, is, you smile, you say hello, I'm anxious to be here. And it's sitting up straight and eye contact. It's eye contact can be hard on a Zoom call or on a Microsoft Teams call. So you have to practice. And those are little basic skills that, again, as Al said, that's not an MBA. This is, how do you practice eye contact? Well, just work at it. Turn your computer on and try it yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror. And so enthusiasm, I think, is so critically essential for all of us.
And I'm so glad you brought up your Alec Baldwin is an excellent impression. And when you do it, I get sweaty palms. And pretty much the way they did it, I think, in the actual movie. And and that gets to, what does it take to motivate somebody to sell? I mean, a lot of people think that you do it by browbeating them. The number one concern business owners have is, how do I effectively manage my salespeople? And that comes down to, how do you motivate them?
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for business owners who just don't understand that function?
Well, it's interesting. I've played on both sides of that street. I've been a salesperson my whole life. I've been a manager and managed teams, and salespeople want to be respected, and we want leadership to understand what sales is all about. And that goes again back to collaboration and communication. The worst thing are the leaders who say, "Oh, the sales department never works on Friday," or "the sales department doesn't give us the real numbers." Now, leadership or managers need to understand what the sales organization is all about, what really happens. Now, in this day and age, it's a little bit harder since we're all working remotely. But when we get back to a more normal environment, it is spending time with each salesperson, learning what they're doing, learning what goes on with a call. And conversely, it's also salespeople understanding what marketing does and what finance does and what manufacturing does. So it goes part of that. Everybody needs to be trained on everybody's business. Salespeople get motivated when products or services sell. We're motivated when things work. And we're like a pinball sometimes. And if it doesn't work over here, we go over there. And we go where the sales are. And that's what you want from a sales organization. Don't waste your time on business that's never going to materialize. You want salespeople going to where the action is. So we want honesty from leadership. We want to be compensated fairly. We don't want to be harassed. Now, so it's a two-way street there. But some organizations, are so tied into, key performance indicators, KPIs, that they never let the sales organization sell anything. They're filling out forms. They're doing reforecasts, doing more numbers. Salespeople want to sell. So the best way to motivate them is to open the field up and let them do it. So again, that's where I believe in, what I always try to do with the organizations that I've worked with.
That makes a lot of sense. We have to take a commercial break, but what I wanted to say is that people in other professions are also selling. If you think about it, a physician is selling, might not have a good bedside manner, so he's not really selling himself to that person and making this connection. You take your car in to have service. That service advisor is selling the merits of that service department, right?
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Absolutely true.
Definitely.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Dean Karrel on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, and of course, my co-host Al Cini. Stay tuned. Yay.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our Ministry Alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAP partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAP partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Well, we're back, and a big hello to everybody out there at Business Talk Radio. Thank you for your support, and to friends watching on YouTube and Facebook. We are back on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn and our guest, Dean Karrel. Take it away, Al.
You know, I was thinking during the break, and we didn't have a chance to talk about this in advance, but I used to work in technical sales. That's kind of my background. I know you did too, Dean, and Dr. Jacalyn, you too. So I know what marketing people do every now and then. They take everything that they ever created, every creative element that they've ever put together, and they make a PowerPoint deck from it that a sales rep I once worked with said, it's a Franken deck. It's grown like Frankenstein. It's a monster. It's got a million slides in it. And they're telling me, when you make a presentation, you start at the beginning and you work your way through. And he said, and he said, and they just don't listen to me when I go back to them and tell them I can't use this.
Yeah.
What do you? That's a disconnect between marketing and sales, right? They're not listening to each other.
Yeah, it's the different mission statements and people not getting on the same page of what salespeople really want and what marketing really wants to create, and it has gotten so out of hand in many cases. And you go back many years ago, it's like, oh wow, PowerPoint, this is great, and you'd have all of this, and then people began to look at the lower right-hand corner, and you'd say, how many pages is this PowerPoint going to be? And you cringe, and you see like 6, 8, 24 pages, and then if you show that to a buyer, it's like, oh my gosh, and then they're going like this within 2 minutes of meeting you.
Oh yeah.
And I worked with a great salesperson one time named Jeff Davidson, and he had this great Midwestern accent. And he would go, he complained sometimes about the Franken decks, as you call them, Al. And he goes, Dean, what I just don't need one of these big, long decks. Just give me one page with the key information, and then I can go sell. And I remember, that's about 15, 20 years ago. And I remember it vividly because it's so true.
So true.
Wow, that's a good point.
And it's marketing on the same page of what I really need.
Well, what you just identified is something that Texans and New Yorkers have in common. Get to the point. Don't put me through this.
What's really painful is when you're in a presentation and someone has the deck, the 50 slides. I've been with people with 60 slides, and they're so adamant about getting to every slide, and they're not listening to anything the client's saying. Instead of engaging with the client, it's like, I have to get through every slide of the deck.
I've got to do that's a Franken deck.
That's Franken deck, and that's poor training. You put a person in that position and then unfortunately you see them, they're reading every bullet. I mean, we've all been in those presentations, and they're going bullet by bullet and along each page, and I've been in those where you get the 50-page deck, and then what you do is, what I always do is, what's the conclusion? What's the final chapter? Okay, this is what it is. This is how much it costs. This is when they can deliver it, and I don't need all of this. And again, it's asking those questions of your buyer in that sales discovery call. What do you need from me? So when I make that presentation, I can give you what you need to help you make a decision. And it's not the 40-page deck.
Wow.
Right, exactly. So, Dean, there's so many things that people can reach out to you for. Let's talk about your book, Mastering the Basics. This is on Amazon. Is that the best way to purchase your book?
It is available on Amazon, and it's available at barnesandnoble.com, and your independent bookstore can order it for you also. They're hurting right now, and I know they take special orders, so you'd love to be able to help out your small bookseller and order it there too. But it's available everywhere, then also around the world at all major distributors and booksellers. And so that's my book. And as you both have seen me, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, and I do a couple of videos a week on short topics, and I do a post on various subjects talking about sales, but mostly about business. And so I cover everything from mental health issues and being able to work as in this environment to sales and business issues. Covers the gamut, and I'm pretty visible there.
You definitely are. Can you share with us what you just completed with the Red Maple Tree, the books under the tree?
So I've met so many terrific people on LinkedIn, and a lot of them are fellow LinkedIn learning instructors. And there's that many of them have written books. So what I did, they're friends of mine. I've ordered their books and I've started to read them. And over the past couple of years, I've collected close to 40 different books. And I said, how do I highlight these books for people? And I've had a couple posts each week. We're in the backyard, in my backyard, small New Jersey backyard. I have this beautiful red maple.
Really nice.
That came from my parents' property in Connecticut 30 plus years ago when I planted it. It was a little small seedling, and now it's this gorgeous red maple. So I said, how do I feature these books? And I put them in the backyard, and I call it the tour of books underneath the red maple. I got the idea, for full disclosure, there's a great sales trainer in the UK named Simon Hares, and he did this with books that he has gotten too. And I said, well, I'm going to steal that idea. So I talked about those books. And I talk about some of the classics that go way back from my early part of my career. And I won't let out the secret, but I posted one today about the book that really had the greatest impact on me in a variety of different ways. And that was my video today. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, you can get a look at that.
And I think that's so terrific that you're actually helping promote other people in their work. I mean, that's really what it's all about. So that's terrific.
It's again, that's a lesson. It's a lesson from my book. It's you help people out. I mean, if you help people out, they will help you. And it's just, that's how we're going to get through this horrible situation right now with COVID, how we're going to get through tough situations where people are furloughed or looking for jobs. When somebody's looking for a job or they're desperate to get an interview, don't hide, help them out. So it's, again, the lesson, I'm helping them with books, but it really is all encompassing that we all need to reach out and help each other during these times and in times when people are struggling.
That's, it's really important. A lot of people, I don't think, really realize how much you get back from that, because if you're helping 25 or 30 people, those are 25 or 30 people out there with a possibility that they might help you at some point.
Possibility they might help you, but at the bare minimum, what's really nice is when somebody writes me back and they say, Dean, thank you so much. You answered my email. You answered my call. You gave me some encouragement. How hard is that? I mean, you can't spend your whole day doing this, but we all get those emails and you say, oh my gosh, what am I going to say to this person? I don't know what to tell them. But if you can just say, hang in there, keep going at it, be enthusiastic, put your best foot forward, it makes the world of difference. So the payback to me is when somebody says, Dean, thank you so much. Yeah, that's not monetary. It's it's inspirational. Makes you feel real good. Then I take pleasure in that.
That's great.
I think what's so incredible is that you wrote this book. I've read the book. Al's read the book. But seeing you here in person, so to speak, the book comes alive. So I hope that people will go out and purchase your book. And I love what you said about the small bookseller, because we forget about that. We're so used to Amazon, which Amazon's great, but there are people out there who own bookstores who really could use some patronage. So pick up his book, Dean's book. It's Mastering the Basics, and let's have a visual of it.
Definitely hold it up. It's
Al. This is the one you put on eBay. That was of mine, but
yes, I did. No, my copy of your book is in my bathroom, Dean, and
okay.
I'll tell you why. I do most of my reading there, and what I love about your book is you can pick it up, start anywhere, end anywhere within a couple of minutes. There's a separate section, a little pearl of wisdom, hundreds of them in your book, and it's just such an easy read, and there's so much great stuff in it. So good work, man.
I'm kidding aside, but I appreciate you both have read it, and I appreciate the positive feedback. And again, that's been the exciting thing about writing a book too. You're never going to get 100%, endorsements, but it's nice to hear people say, I like the short snippets, each about a page and a half long, on topics that people really don't talk about in business schools or educational community. And it's that's what I've enjoyed, and it's been fun to be able to pass those small pearls of wisdom along to people.
And one more point for me, and then I'm done. But it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, Dean. And your book is a great Christmas gift.
Yes, I love that, Al.
It's just terrific for a great gift to give somebody that in their professional life, you couldn't give them anything better. So
well said.
Thank you, Al.
So, Dean, if people want to reach out to you, is LinkedIn the best way?
LinkedIn is the best way. Dean Karrel, Karrel, Dean Karrel. And on LinkedIn, that's where I spend most of my time, and that's where my easiest way to reach me.
Excellent. And one point I just want to end with, because I think it's so significant, you mentioned this, Dean, is follow up, people. Like if somebody contacts you, get back to them. If you say you're going to do something, actually do it. It seems like such a foreign concept, but we know how important it is, right?
It's so funny when people say that to me. Dean, I'm so thankful that you followed up with me. You got back to me and you said you were, and I think, well, is that rocket science? So again, how do you separate yourself from everybody else? So do you need a PhD, Dr. Jacalyn, for that? No. Follow up. It's a basic skill, and it's amazing how people respond to that. And it's also follow up sometimes in saying, it's not the right opportunity for me, or I can't help you. People like to know one way or the other. It's that ghosting word, whatever happened to these people? Well, if it doesn't work, let them know. It's not going to be the right thing.
That's so true. You are down the sales process, and all of a sudden the client just disappears. And it would be so much better if they just said, listen, this isn't the right time, or you're not the right person, or I made a different decision. We don't have a budget. So I agree with that. Just be real and be honest.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Yes.
So, Dean, I'm thrilled that you were here, and Al and I are excited that you are our business expert for Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. We're going to have you and nobody else, and we want to have you every quarter if that works for you.
I would love to do it. I have such fun. I mean, I said it the last time. I feel like we could chat all afternoon, and we'd have so many stories, and we have some laughs. And again, that's what business and life is all about. You tell some stories, and we've all had our ups and downs in our careers in life, and so it's a great opportunity for the three of us to be able to chat. And I'm just thrilled that you've asked me to join you. So thank you both.
Thank you. It's a pleasure seeing you. We'll see you backstage in a minute. So thank you again, Dean Karrel.
Bye-bye now.
Bye. Mr. Cini.
Yes.
Where did you go? I don't see you now.
I can't be far.
Well, that's strange. It says you're here, but you're not. Well, anyway.
There we go. Yeah,
you needed to do it. Perfect. There you go. I just wanted to say to the people, our loyal followers in Business Talk Radio and social media, that we're really appreciative of them tuning in each week, and that we are looking for some additional sponsors. We like to change things up, and we have the unique ability to not only give people the airtime that they need, but we can also make the commercial for them. What do you have to say about that, Al?
I think the looking for guests, looking for sponsors, it's all part of the same, and building an audience. It's really all part of one experience. And you do that by having great conversations every week, every chance you get. I think Dean is a perfect example of it. So
absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, this is fun.
We need to say sayonara for now because Business Talk Radio has let us go over our time. Thank you, Chris, and thank you everybody out there listening. And we will be back next week. So thank you for tuning in to watch. And I'm going to leave you with a kind of a little fun thing I put together about Al and about me. Here we go.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Back.